Good late evening to those in the threat zone of Hurricane Lorena. I am going to be sharing the stream real quick on multiple social media platforms, and then we'll get right into it. We have multiple storms we're going to be covering, so including Pepa, Kiko, those kind of storms, but our main focus is going to be on Lorena. Again, I am sharing the stream on other platforms, and if you have any questions and you're watching this video after it goes live, you can leave them in the comments, and I will gladly answer them in the next video, or in the next live stream, which there may or may not be a live stream on this system again. It may be mainly for PEPA, or another system that could be threatening Vietnam and the Philippines. Okay, just double checking everything is working. Yes, it is. Hello. Alright, so our main discussion is again going to be on Hurricane Lorena. It has quickly intensified into a mid-range Category 1. Currently, we're forecasting it's likely nearing its peak. It's going to be moving over cooler waters in a generally more unfavorable environment, so it's likely at its peak over the next 6 hours or so. But the system is expected to maintain that hurricane intensity for at least the next 12 to 18 hours before it weakens to a tropical storm, and it will likely make a landfall somewhere in Baja California Sur as a tropical storm, before emerging over into the Gulf of California as likely a tropical depression, before nearing mainland Mexico as a remnant low. This is by around hour 60. Now, keep in mind, the main impacts are going to be in the form of rain, not necessarily the wind. So looking at the broad view of impacts, we have this broad area of marginal impacts for much of mainland Mexico and then parts of southwestern New Mexico and southeastern Arizona, going back for Baja California Sur. Again, this is majority of rain impacts, although this shaded area right around here is going to be in the form of wind, in combination with rain as well. Looking at the areas of slight impacts on the southern tip, including Cabo San Lucas over here in Baja California Sur, there's a slight impacts there, as whereas wherever it reemerges into the Gulf of California, it's going to be getting an abundance of moisture, where we could see up to 300 millimeters of rainfall in these areas, and that's why there's also a highlighted area here for the possibility of moderate impacts. Again, 300 millimeters plus of rainfall cannot be ruled out with this system. Again, it's uncertain as to where it will merge into the Gulf of California and how strong it will, so that's why it's just currently a possibility. Looking at the overview of the world of tropics right now, we do have a fair amount going on right now. We have a tropical wave in the North Atlantic with a 40% chance of development over the next 48 hours and an 80% chance over the next 7 days. This system could pose a threat to the Leeward Islands and eastern Greater Antilles, including Puerto Rico and the U.S. Virgin Islands. Beyond that, it could become a threat for Bermuda. Again, it's too far out to say for sure. We'll have more updates over the coming days. We have Hurricane Lorena, which is moving towards Baja California, and that should dissipate over the next, again, 3 days or so. We also have Hurricane Kiko right here, which is a Category 4. Now it's likely even stronger than just a minimal Cat 4. Could try to make a run for Cat 5. This system could eventually pose a threat to Hawaii that is just beyond the 5-day range. Looking in the western Pacific, we have Tropical Storm 21W, which is now named Pepa, and it's nearing Japan as just a weak tropical storm, but the main impacts are going to be a combination of wind and rain. Looking in the South China Sea, there is an area of interest here with a 20% chance of development. This is mainly in the 2 to 5 day range. And in the North Indian Ocean, we do still have the remnants of Nangfa, which may or may not be a tropical cyclone over India. It's pretty hard to tell, but there's also another disturbance just over eastern India, which could try to combine with Nangfa's vortex there and could become a tropical cyclone once they merge. There is also an area of interest in the southwest Indian Ocean with a 20% chance of development. This is pretty far off season, so this is going to be quite interesting. Again, maybe a fourth storm, and then there is also a signal over here by Indonesia where we could see another storm, so 5 off-season storms would be quite impressive. Now, looking at the satellite imagery of Hurricane Lorena, we can see that it is continuing to burst these nice, or there's still a lot of nice convective burst over the center, showing that it hasn't quite felt the effects of the cooler waters just yet. And we can also see these bursts happening near Cabo San Lucas. Again, that's why we have that area shaded in for slight impacts possible. Looking at the visible imagery here, we can see that the system is, or all the moisture is getting vacuumed out to the northeast. That's why, again, even if the system dissipates over mainland Mexico, its remnant moisture will be traveling towards Arizona and New Mexico. And again, looking at the higher resolution visible imagery here, we can see those convective bursts right over the center there, and then the convective burst of these thunderstorms by Cabo San Lucas. Looking at radar imagery, we don't have a whole lot to look at, but we are able to see some of the thunderstorms by Cabo San Lucas there. Now, looking at the environmental conditions of the storm right now, we can see it is in still an area of neutral shear around 20 knots or so, but it is going to be moving into an unfavorable environment soon. And again, if you look at the arrows here as to where that shear is going to be blowing, it's going to be blowing towards the northeast, and that would be bringing it towards places like Arizona, New Mexico, western Texas. Sea surface temperatures, it is at around 27 degrees Celsius, so it is beginning to approach those cooler waters, and it should approach that over the next, I'd say, around 12 hours or so, and that's why we are forecasting it to quickly weaken. And looking at the distances from certain places, it is currently around 320 kilometers away from Cabo San Lucas, around 390 kilometers away from where it will likely make landfall, somewhere in northern Baja California Sur, and roughly around 640 kilometers away from mainland Mexico. It is currently around 930 kilometers away from Arizona, and roughly around 980 kilometers away from New Mexico. Now, looking at the models, again, the models aren't really handling the system that well, so they aren't showing it that strong. But the European run doesn't really show it moving over Baja California. And the GFS, though, since it has initialized it quite stronger, it does have the system moving towards Baja California Sur, but it doesn't really make it past it as a tropical cyclone. The German run on the system doesn't have it moving over Baja California Sur at all, just keeps it off towards the west. Again, though, it's not handling it that well. Right now it's a hurricane, and this is only showing it as a weak tropical storm. Oops, forgot to move over here. In the Canadian model here, update this. Again, the Canadian model initializes it as a weak tropical storm and then moves it off towards the west, and that's why it's not really handling it that well. Looking at the European run, European ensembles, you can see the split 50-50 as to where it's going. Is it going to go towards Baja California or curve out to sea? Again, because of how strong it is right now, I'm more inclined to think that it's going to go towards Baja California. And you can see on here the split either west or east. And also you can see the system Hurricane Kiko, which is going to be approaching Hawaii. Looking at the American ensembles, these should be more certain as to where it's going, off towards the northeast, although some ensembles, the ones that have it weaker right now, do have it going off towards the west. Looking at the ensembles on here, we can see it generally moving towards the northeast there, and we also have Hawaii here under the threat of Hurricane Kiko. Now, looking at the rainfall potential over the next 5 days, for parts of Cabo San Lucas, around 60 to 70 millimeters of rain on the European run. Looking at parts of Baja California Sur, around 80 to 100 millimeters of rain, and then parts of mainland Mexico getting around 100 millimeters. Not seeing a whole lot impacting Arizona, only around 10 millimeters of rain, or around half an inch. Looking at the American run, though, shows a similar story here. Not a whole lot of rain, at least on the model runs. I don't think that they're really handling it that well at all, and compared to the official forecast here, which I'll get to in a moment. But looking at the current Hurricane Center forecast, there is still tropical storm watches in effect for parts of Baja California Sur, mainly on the southern end, with tropical storm warnings in effect for nearly the entire west coast. of the province. Wherever it reemerges, there is tropical storm watch in effect there just in case it keeps that tropical storm status as it moves across the peninsula. Looking at the probability of tropical storm force winds over the next, this is mainly 5 days or so, but mainly under the next 2 to 3 days. Along the southwestern portions of Baja California Sur, generally around a 50% chance, with areas in northern Baja California Sur around a 40 to 50% chance. Mainland Mexico, it's down to around a 5 to 10% chance range. And now looking at the forecast for rainfall totals. Okay, it seems like it doesn't want to cooperate here. I thought that it was there. Okay, I guess it's not updated recently. But looking at the forecast for the southwestern United States and northwestern Mexico, we can see this area over here of 8 to 12 inches of rain wherever it reemerges in the Gulf of California. Again, it's going to be entering warmer waters there, more fuel for these thunderstorms, along with the mountainous terrain. That's why we could see some serious flooding there, so the possibility of moderate impacts. For parts of southern Arizona, generally totals of around 2 to 4 inches, maybe an isolated total of 6 inches. And then beyond that, as it moves into New Mexico, generally lower totals of around 1 to 4 inches of rain. Now, looking at the flash flooding potential for the United States, there is going to be a slight risk for southern Arizona, southeastern California, and southwestern New Mexico. Generally today through Thursday morning for parts of southern central Arizona, into day 2 through Friday morning, generally on the western southwestern portions of Arizona, and then on day 3 through Saturday morning, generally in between southeastern Arizona and southwestern New Mexico. Now let's see if we have any questions on these storms. Dua asks, will Hurricane Lorena bring rain to the United States? Again, because the system is going to be sheared, pretty much all the moisture is going to be evacuated off towards the northeast, and that's why even if the storm itself doesn't make it up towards the southwestern United States, its remnant moisture will reach there. There's quite a large area that could see impacts from this storm in the longer range here. You can see in the southwestern United States. Then eventually it moves off towards, and here you can see the rainfall right on here, generally showing totals of around 2 inches or so. This is from Saturday to Sunday. Right through here you can see the corridor of the rainfall. Then the next day right here in towards Oklahoma even. And then beyond that it pretty much it merges with all these frontal systems, and it's not really traceable at that point. Alright, let's see what other questions here. Hi, Seed. Andy plays if I will animates Cullen probably sometime. Tara asks, looks like Hurricane Kiko's eye is cooling. However, I'm expecting fluctuations in the eye. Shear is also lessening. Also, if it intensifies faster again, it will likely become a Cat 5, as it's already around 125 knots. Let's take a look at Hurricane Kiko now. Pull it up on here. Yep, I mean, this storm, I'm not quite sure of Cat 5 just yet. I'm going to pull up this right here. I don't think the environment's that conducive for it to intensify, and it looks like it's struggling right now. I don't agree with a 125 knot estimate. Yeah, water temperatures are around 28 Celsius, so they're not terrible. They're decent, and looking at shear, quite low. It doesn't look that great. The CDO does not look that great, and it continues bursting everywhere. It's not, how do I describe it? It's not symmetric. It's not stabilized yet. It's very unstable with all these bursts. I know that looking at it on Dvorak, it looks pretty clean. I'll load it up here. Even on this, it's not doing a whole lot. It's not doing great at all on here, really. I personally have it as a low-end Cat 4. I don't know how much more it's going to try to improve. It's just right now it's not doing great right now. I don't think it's again very unstable, and that eye is starting to fill in a little bit more. So I don't know. It may be taking a break from intensifying. Let's see. Let's see what else. Hurricane Intel says, "I feel like Kiko is stealing the Eastern Pacific spotlight from Lorena." Yeah, I mean Lorena is quite an interesting storm, moving off towards the northeast, towards Baja California Sur, and potentially onto the southwestern United States. Its remnant moisture. These systems are very underrated in terms of media attention on them because they're not really directly impacting those areas. But I mean, Hurricane Kiko is going to be an important system we'll need to watch over the next 5 to 7 days, as it could impact Hawaii as a tropical storm. The current Hurricane Center forecast does have it as a minimal hurricane by the day 5 point. There is currently around a 1 to 5% chance of tropical storm conditions or tropical storm force winds happening on Hawaii during the next 5 days from the Hurricane Center. If I pull that up, right on here, you can see the chances of tropical storm force winds under 5%, so generally 1 to 5% for the big island of Hawaii. And this island right over here, which I forget what it's called. But again, the highest chances are currently away because its day 5 point is going to be right around here. It could move faster. That's again why there's that 1 to 5% chance range. We'll probably have more updates over the coming days as the system gets closer and closer to Hawaii. And yeah, looking at Hurricane Lorena, thankfully not looking like it will impact the southwestern United States, as tropical storm force winds could see some gusty thunderstorms there above that intensity. Yes, Hurricane Intel mentions the fact that Lorena is going to be impacting well past just Mexico. Don't think that the models are really getting a great handling on it. So I don't know how much I can show with this. Yeah, again, it's the models really aren't handling it that well. It's stronger right now than what the models believe it is. Again, though, the impacts are going to be happening well past just Mexico, where it could be impacting parts of New Mexico and Arizona, although it could go even further all the way towards Oklahoma. Cyclone Animations ask, do you think Tropical Storm Gabrielle will form soon? Let's take a look at that system. Right now, the tropical wave in the North Atlantic, given it around a 40% chance of development over the next 48 hours and an 80% chance over the next 7 days. If we look at the models on on what could become Gabrielle, the GFS does organize it into a tropical cyclone over the next 3 days, before keeping it northwards or just north of the Leeward Islands and generally the Lesser and Greater Antilles. Looking at the European run, it does form it as a tropical cyclone, maybe in the next 3 days, and it has it more to the south as it has it as a weaker system. The European AI model, while it doesn't form it exactly as a tropical cyclone, you can see the system right here in these yellow colors. It does move it towards the Leeward and Windward Islands. That would mainly be just a rainmaker, though, not anything significant if that verified. The Canadian run does have it as a possible tropical cyclone over the next 3 days, and then keeps it as one beyond that in the 7 day range. And the German run may be one of the quickest ones to form. It forms in the next 20 or 48 hours, excuse me, and then moves it off towards the west as a possible hurricane in the next 5 days. I do feel like it's likely that this system will form. It's just the thing that's got me a little bit suspicious is the European AI model not showing it developing. It should be one of the models that shows development on a system like this. So the fact it's not showing anything just has me a little bit suspicious. Otherwise, I'd probably increase chances beyond that. It's going to have to deal with what we call a tut here. That's basically going to shear it. The stronger it gets, the more north it goes, the more it's going to have to battle against it. The weaker it is, the farther south it's going, or farther due west it's going. And Mackenzie asks, we do have two Kikos yesterday. The Philippine name for Pepa is Kiko, so we did have two Kikos at one point. Just quite rare to see that happen. Let's see, Mackenzie asks if there's any update in the Southwest Indian Ocean. Yes, looking at that, I've kept it on around a 20% chance of development. And if we take a look at, or I don't think the last update I marked that just yet, but looking at the ensembles in the longer range here, or actually this is becoming in the near range over the next 48 hours or so, some of the ensembles even showing possible development there. Generally staying by, I forget what island that is called right there, but moves it generally towards Madagascar before it gets torn apart. I believe by probably wind shear there, or maybe just cooler waters in general. Beyond that, though, there is also the possibility a system forms by Indonesia. You can see some of the ensembles over here. I might mark that tomorrow. I'd just like to see a little bit more support, inconsistency in that support. The American ensembles do show that system as well, just very minimal support at that. But the European AI model is showing that developing right over there, or at least a broad area of low pressure. They're not showing a whole lot in this current system over here. What I do want to note, though, from the European AI model is it is showing something developing by northwestern India, and something developing potentially to a strong tropical storm in the South China Sea there over the next 5 days, with the European ensemble starting to catch up on that support. Intel mentions, just realized that Pepa became a tropical storm. Yes, it looked unlikely to develop earlier, but it's gotten its act together. I believe it's a defined circulation. It is moving pretty quick. That's likely why it's a tropical storm at this moment, with those winds off towards the east. It is expected to make landfall in Japan as a tropical storm, potentially strengthening even a little bit over parts of Japan, moving towards Tokyo as a transitioning tropical cyclone, and then moving out to sea as a non-tropical low. Yeah, Mackenzie asks or mentions the fact that like there's more Southwest Indian Ocean systems. It's been a pretty busy season so far. In the off season, we've had three tropical cyclones likely develop in this basin off season, and we may get 1 to 2 more over the next 10 days. Something to look out for. Trying to catch up with the Atlantic's hurricane season. See, Cyclone Animations ask a little bit off topic, but what software do you use to animate? I use HitFilm Express. Mackenzie says Lorenzo not yet having any hurricane watches or warnings. I doubt that they will be issued because the system is expected to weaken pretty quickly before it makes its landfall. Winds are expected to be around 65 miles an hour, and that's before it makes landfall, around 6 hours before. So it could be around 50 to 60 miles an hour at that landfall, which is pretty below hurricane status. So also the hurricane force winds are going to be well confined to the center, so I don't really expect any hurricane conditions out of this in terms of wind. Rainfall will be a concern, though. Again, rainfall is going to be the primary threats on this system. Tara mentions new microwave imagery on RAM. Let's take a look at that. On Kiko. Let's look at how well that's doing. Is this what you're talking about? Okay, I guess that, eh, I'm wondering if that's going to be an eye wall replacement cycle we'll try to go under over the next few days or next day or so. Again, it's just showing that southern side is quite unstable. It's not a symmetrical storm, so I don't really agree with the estimate of 125 knots. I feel like it's struggling a bit. Um, we could see this organize over the next 24 hours or so, so I don't think I don't think it's impossible that the system could try to reach Cat 5 status. If it undergoes an eye wall replacement cycle, though, that may stunt its may may lower those chances quite a bit. So the system is going to be generally going towards an unfavorable environment, although it could happen. We've seen storms go into cooler waters and re-intensify quite dramatically. Okay, Mackenzie asks, how much rain for Mexico? Well, the models aren't doing a really great job on it, so I'm going to show you the Hurricane Center forecast for rainfall. Generally across the entirety of Baja California Sur, at least an inch of rain is expected. Along the east coast, though, there could be 4 inches or higher amounts. And wherever it reemerges into the Gulf of California there, we could see 8 to 12 inches plus, so potentially over a foot of rain in some areas. That's why I've highlighted this area of possibility of moderate impacts. Again, as it's quite uncertain as to where it's going to emerge, how strong it will be when it reemerges over water. So right now it's just a possibility. Cyclone Animations ask, could Kiko make landfall in Hawaii or turn north? Let's look at the ensembles. And I'm going to show you the FNV3 ensembles here. Let's see if I go over to the Eastern Pacific here and I create a loop. Actually, let me go into zoom mode here. I believe it's going to be right in here. And let's get, whoops, did not mean to do that. Okay. Right here, and then let's get a loop of the ensembles here. As to where the system's going to be going over the next few days, you can see how a good amount of the ensembles here do show the system moving over Hawaii. Some of them do show it moving north of it, some show it moving south of it. It does look like, though, that they need to be watching the system by around, let's see, this would be around 5 days from now. As you can see, though, the system is going to be approaching Hawaii by then, and you could see some of those outer rain bands start to impact Hawaii. Looks like the timing would be around Tuesday morning-ish, maybe a little bit before that, where it could start approaching or making a landfall. Looks like, yeah, I'd say more so Tuesday. Tuesday into Wednesday are going to be the main days for impacts. And though those waters are going to be a little bit cooler to the southeast of Hawaii, which should help weaken the storm a little bit before it makes any impact. So it could still be a tropical storm by that time. You can see the colors for hurricane is this orange coloring right around here, which by then, right over here, it's going to be a minimal hurricane or high-end tropical storm, and then quickly weakens. You'll see those colors turn from those pinks of a major hurricane down to greens of a mid-range tropical storm, so pretty much dissipating after it passes Hawaii. Again, the intensity it's at right now will have implications as to how strong it will get when it's by Hawaii, in case it, encounters dry air, for example. Let's see what else. Mackenzie says they don't think that Kiko is moving towards the western Pacific. I don't think so as well. It's probably going to fizzle out right after it passes Hawaii. Lee the Gamer mentions that Lorena is bringing rain to Arizona. Yep, we have it right here on this graphic here showing totals in Arizona could reach above 4 inches of rain, mainly in southeastern Arizona, just south of Tucson. Um, could see some of those higher rainfall totals as even though the system could be dissipating right around here, its rain, its pocket of moisture is going to, I'm sorry, it's a new mouse I have, is zooming off towards the northeast. Yes, again, though, the next update will probably be on Kiko, I'd imagine, um, which could happen over the next 3 days or so, a new video update, depending on what the code is. I forgot to mention, though, our code system, we are in code red for Hurricane Lorena, we are in code orange for Tropical Storm Pepa, and we are code yellow for Hurricane Kiko. So I'd say that the next updates would either be on the North Atlantic disturbance or Hurricane Kiko. So I think that the most likely scenario would be Hurricane Kiko. Could see an update on Lorena over the next in about 2 days or so, depending on how organized it is. Is it going to be a tropical depression, tropical storm? Are there still watches and warnings? All that stuff is taken into consideration. Mackenzie asks, what happened with Nongfa? Nongfa did emerge into the Bay of Bengal, and it may have, and it may be a tropical cyclone right now. It's quite hard to tell. It's currently over mainland India right now. Let's see, where is it? I think its center is located right around there. I don't know if it's a tropical cyclone. I doubt it. I currently have it as a remnant low, still moving over western India. This other circulation, though, is going to try to become a tropical cyclone, and they should do a little dance together, the Fujiwara interaction, which I can actually show you right on here. You can see the two vortexes right on here. Nongfa off to the left, and this new disturbance off towards the east there, off towards the right, and they do this little dance, and it looks like that northern or that eastern disturbance is going to win out against Nongfa. But I mean, yeah, you can see the remnants of Nongfa move in towards the Bay of Bengal, move towards the west over India there. And then now it's over central India. And it's going to probably get absorbed by this new North Indian Ocean disturbance. And again, though, you can see it on the European run right over here. Generally shows that northern disturbance winning out. Could become a decent tropical cyclone and a pretty big rainmaker for parts of western India and I believe eastern Pakistan. How much rainfall in India? Let's look at that. Could see over 200 millimeters of rain, at least on the European run here. You can see all that rainfall starting to add up in the border of western India and eastern Pakistan. We could see a video update on that system, to be perfectly honest. It all depends, though. Does it get designated, for example? Well, that's pretty much all I have for you for this update. I'm just going to check if there were any questions on the last update I can answer. Someone was asking, is Nongfa known as Jacinto? It's no longer known as that because it's moving, or it's no longer in the Philippine area of responsibility. And that looks like it's about it. Well, thank you all so much for watching. Again, looking at the broad overview of tropics and when the next stream could happen, I'd say probably it's going to be either for Hurricane Kiko or this North Atlantic disturbance are going to be the two main threats. If none of those really come out into anything major, then the next update may be on this Western Pacific system, which could threaten parts of China, Hong Kong, and maybe even Vietnam. It's too far out to say for certain, but just something to be aware of. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next update. Stay safe.